Chandana Prajachana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada 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 So we'll start with the invocations. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Almighty Lord, Almighty of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskrityam naram cheva narottamam devam saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the merry means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtai preshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the Trinity of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Okay, so hello everyone, welcome to today's Bhagavatam class. So we're reading from Canto 7, Chapter 13, titled The Behavior of a Perfect Person. And we will be reading text 35 to 46. So we'll be finishing this chapter today. Okay. Jai. Yeah, and then whilst this is being pulled up, apologies in advance, I kind of procrastinated reading this. So my notes are probably going to be all over the place, a bit disorganized. But yeah. Okay. So starting from text 35. And let's read it all together. There. Okay. So, the bee and the python are two excellent spiritual masters who give us exemplary instructions regarding how to be satisfied by collecting only a little and how to stay in one place and not move. From the bumblebee, I have learned to be unattached to accumulating money, for although money is as good as honey, anyone can kill its owner and take it away. I do not endeavor to get anything, but am satisfied with whatever is achieved in its own way. If I do not get anything, I am patient and unagitated like a python and lie down in this way for many days. Sometimes I eat very small quantity and sometimes a great quantity. Sometimes the food is very palatable and sometimes it is stale. Sometimes prasad is offered with great respect and sometimes food is given neglectfully. Sometimes I eat during the day and sometimes at night. Thus I eat what is easily available. To cover my body, I use whatever is available, whether it be linen, silk, cotton, bark, or deerskin, according to my destiny, and I am full, satisfied, and unagitated. Sometimes I lie on the surface of the earth, sometimes on leaves, grass, or stone, sometimes on a pile of ashes, or sometimes, by the will of others, in a palace on a first-class bed with pillows. O my Lord, sometimes I bathe myself very nicely, smear sandalwood pulp all over my body, or put on a flower garland and dress in fine garments and ornaments. Then I travel like a king on the back of an elephant, or on a chariot or horse. Sometimes, however, I travel naked like a person haunted by a ghost. Different people are of different mentalities. Therefore, it is not my business either to praise them or to blaspheme them. I only desire their welfare, hoping that they will agree to become one with the Supersoul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The mental concoction of discrimination between good and bad should be accepted as one unit and then invested in the mind, which should then be invested in the false ego. The false ego should be invested in the total material energy. This is the process of fighting false discrimination. A learned, thoughtful person must realize that material existence is illusion. This is possible only by self-realization. A self-realized person who has actually seen the truth should retire from all mental activities or material, being situated in self-realization. Prahlad Maharaj, you are certainly a self-realized soul and a devotee of the Supreme Lord. You do not care for public opinion or so-called scriptures. For this reason, I have described to you without hesitation the history of my self-realization. Narada Muni continued, after Prahlad Maharaj, the king of the demons, heard these instructions from the saint, he understood the occupational duties of a perfect person, Paramahamsa. Thus he duly worshipped the saint, took his permission, and then left for his own home. Okay. And then pull up text 42. Okay. Naham nindena cha sotami. Svabhava vishamam janam. Ite sham shreya ashase. Uttaikats myam mahatmani. Naham nindena chastomi. Svabhava vishamam janam. Itesham Shreya Ashase Utai Katmya Mahatmani Naham Nindena Chastomi Svabhava Vishamam Janam Itesham Shreya Ashase Utai Katmya Mahatmani
Naham Nindena Chastomi
Naham Nindena Chastomi. Oh, your turn.
Swabhava Vishamam Janam
Svabhava Visham Janam
Etesham Shreya Shase
Itesham Shreya Ashase
Ute Katmya Mahatmani
Ute Katmya Mahatmani Naham Nindena Chostami Svabhava Vishamam Janam
Etesham Shreya Ashase
Itesham Shreya Ashase Ute Katmya Mahatmani Naham Nindena Chastomi
Swabhava Vishamam Janam
Svabhava Vishamam Janam
Etesham Shreya Ashase
Itesham Shreya Ashase Ute Katmya Mahatmani Naham Nindena Chostami
Swabhava Vishamam Janam
Svabhava Vishamam Janam
Etesham Shreya Shase
Itesham Shreya Ashase
Utkatmya Mahatmani
Ute Katmya Mahatmani. Okay, and then word for word translation. Repeat after me. Na, not. Aham, I. Ninde, blaspheme. Na, nor. Cha, also. Stomi, praise. Svabhava, whose nature. Vishamam, contradictory. Janam, a living entity or human being. Itasham, of all of them. Shreya, the ultimate benefit. Ashase, I pray for. Uta, indeed. Aikatmyam, oneness. Mahatmani, in the Supersoul. The Para Braham, Krishna. Translation. Okay, no more. Different people are of different mentalities. Therefore, it is not my business either to praise them or to blaspheme them. I only desire their welfare, hoping that they will agree to become one with the Supersoul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As soon as one comes to the platform of Bhakti Yoga, one understands fully the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev, is the goal of life. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Suddurlabha. This is the instruction of all the Vedic literature. Vedascha sarve aham eva vedya sarva dharma parityakya mamekam sharanam vraja. There is no use in praising someone for material qualifications or blaspheming him for material disqualifications. In the material world, good and bad have no meaning because if one is good, he may be elevated to a higher planetary system, and if one is bad, he may be degraded to the lower planetary systems. People of different mentalities are sometimes elevated and sometimes degraded, but this is not the goal of life. Rather, the goal of life is to become free from elevation and degradation and to take to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a saintly person does not discriminate between that which is supposedly good and supposedly bad. Rather, he desires for everyone to be happy in Krishna consciousness, which is the ultimate goal of life. Okay. Jai. Okay, so this entire chapter is about. Does someone want to give an explanation? Right now, like Prahlad Maharaj is talking to this Brahmin who has just been like laying on the ground, and he's just waiting for like food to come into his mouth, and he's asking him like, why are you doing this? Like, what is the point? Or like things like that, right? Yes. And so this Brahmin tells him about his like realizations and what he has learned by doing all of this. So, yeah. Okay, so here Prabhupada is talking about how we should not see the good or not.
Don't judge.
Yeah, not judge. Like we should see everyone equally. Like we should neither praise them or blaspheme them. And yes. And it's the trait of a sage actually to see everyone as equal. Like in Bhagavad Gita 5:18, Vidya Brahma Geva Hastani Shuni Cheva Shvapakacha Pandita Samadarshina. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcast. So we should see everyone as equal, regardless of if they're a dog-eater or a Brahmin, because this is just material covering, it's just the body. But inside, we are the soul, and we have Krishna with us. So we need to see everyone as equal. And yes, and all of these material like qualities that we have, whether it's like we're very saintly or we're very like sinful or anything like that, these are just material like coverings. It's our karma. So it's not truly who we are, and it's not something we should really pay attention to. So yeah. So yeah, these material qualities, they're all just superficial, and they're just a combination of the three modes of nature. So again, it's just our karma, and we should overlook that. Yeah, and there's no need to like praise or disqualify that. Anyone have any thoughts so far about this text? Amala Harinam.
I was wondering, like, it's more like a question.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we have heard a lot of times that we should neglect which is not favorable for us, and then accept in terms of association too. Then further, we see we should always associate with seniors, and we should give association to juniors.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Mahaprabhu says we should not engage with Mayavadis. He said, Mayavadi bhasha sunile hoye sarvanasha. So there we are kind of discriminating, like devotees, like senior devotees, and then not senior devotees people. So how's that? Like, why are we not seeing them equally or something?
It's like choose what's right for you. There are so many things that you can do sense gratification with, but again at the same time you have something good. On one side there's sugar, on the other side there's honey. It's up to you what you choose. If you choose sugar, you have to face consequences. If you choose honey, you will enjoy the nectar. So we are not judging, we are not criticizing them. At the same time, we know that that's not the ultimate goal. Our goal is different, our destination is different. And what they do, like Prabhupada mentioned, that's kind of spiritual suicide, which is not right for us.
Yeah. And it's like we can see them as equal, but we can choose maybe not to associate with them. Like Krishna is still like in those, like in them, but like because of their karma, they're just very like perhaps sinful or very ignorant people. So we can choose not to associate with them.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Mental speculations, and what we study, it's coming from the cyclic succession, completely from from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu to Brahma and from Brahma to us. So this is a very authentic kind of source that we have with the Guru Parampara, and what they have is kind of mental speculation.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have one more follow-up. So Prahlad Maharaj, in his stuti, he's mentioning when he's like trying to praise Narasimha Dev, that even saintly persons, they take pleasure when snakes and scorpions die. Right?
When somebody is harming you, when someone whose quality, whose characteristic is to harm others, then there's no harm of killing that demon.
Yeah, and it's like their intention of like a snake or a scorpion. Like they don't.
They're not your well-wishers.
Yeah, and they'll like sting anyone. They don't discriminate, so they'll cause harm to anyone, regardless if they're saintly or sinful. So, yes. Okay. Yes.
So here who is telling whom?
Oh, so right now, the Brahmin is talking to Prahlad Maharaj about all of his realizations that he has learned. Because I believe, I forget how it starts, like how he came to where he is.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know who is speaking this because they're talking about oneness and everything. That's why.
Oneness.
You become one with the super soul and everything. That's why I was just wondering who is speaking this.
Varying qualities of different ashrams, just like somebody who is in Brahmacharya ashram, somebody who is in Sannyas ashram, somebody who is in Vanaprastha ashram. So he was reading about their qualities.
So this is one of the quality.
So basically, in next chapters, we're gonna read that Prahlad Maharaj teaching to this guy about the true knowledge.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's not about becoming oneness. It's about becoming like going back to Krishna.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not oneness.
Okay.
I mean, another point that I was told maybe to talk about was like how we should be like a bee, and like that's also, yeah, the bee and the python are two excellent spiritual masters who give us exemplary instructions regarding how to be satisfied by collecting only a little and how to stay in one place and not move. So a bee, like, you know, they're always going like from flower to flower and taking only what they need. So they don't take too much. And like that, we should be like that with money, you know, only use or take what we need. Because if we have too much, then it gets like all of that money that we worked hard for gets taken away. And so this little bee is teaching us how to be detached from money, from material things, because at any moment, everything can just go away. So, yes. And we shouldn't always go from like place to place. Like, we should stay in one spot and then just like focus and like, you know, meditate. Yeah. Anything else? Sure. 43. Does anyone want to read it?
This verse describes how a yogi can become free from material affection. Because of material attraction, a karmi cannot see himself. Gnanis can discriminate between matter and spirit. But the yogis, the best of whom are the bhakti yogis, want to return home, back to Godhead. The karmis are completely in illusion. The gnanis are neither in illusion nor in positive knowledge. But the yogis, especially the bhakti yogis, are completely on the spiritual platform, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14:26.
Mam chayo piyalane bhakti yogena sevate sagunam samitityatan brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
One who engages in full devotion service, already all circumstances, at once transcends the force of material nature, and thus comes to the Lord of Brahman.
Can you get back to the purport? But one who engages in full devotion service, who does not fall down under any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Thus, a devotee's position is secure. A devotee is at once elevated to the spiritual platform. Others, such as Gyanis and Hatha Yogis, can only gradually ascend to the spiritual platform by nullifying their material discrimination on the platform of psychology and nullifying the false ego, by which one thinks, I am this body, a product of matter. One must merge the false ego into the total material energy and merge the total material energy into the supreme energetic. This is the process of becoming free from material attraction.
Wow, I was not able to understand that. One must merge his false ego into material energy and the material energy into supreme energetic. What does that mean?
The next part also kind of explains.
Oh, really?
You surrender it, understand that you're a part of it.
Okay, let's read the purport.
By an analytical study of entire constitution of the body, one can surely come to the conclusion that the soul is different from all the body's material constituents, such as earth, water, fire, and air. Thus, the difference between the body and soul can be realized by the person who is thoughtful, Manishi or Muni. And after this realization of individual spirit soul, one can very easily understand the supreme spirit soul. If one thus realizes that the individual soul is subordinate to the supreme spirit soul, he achieves self-realization. As explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there are two souls within the body. The body is called Kshetra, and there are two Kshetrajan, or occupants of the body, namely the super soul, Paramatma, and individual soul. The super soul and the individual soul are like two birds sitting on the same tree, the material body. One bird, the individual forgetful bird, is eating the fruit of the tree, not caring for the instructions of the other bird. It is only a witness to the activities of the first bird, who is his friend. When the forgetful bird comes to understand the supreme friend who is always with him and trying to give him guidance in different bodies, he takes shelter at the lotus feet of that supreme bird. As explained in the yoga process, dhyan vasthita tadkatena manasa pashanti yam yogina. When one actually becomes a perfect yogi, by meditation, he can see the supreme friend and surrender unto him. This is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, or actual life in Krishna consciousness.
Jai.
Enjoy.
Jai. Should we read the last two?
Yeah.
Okay. Text
A
45.
person who is actually a devotee of Krishna does not care about so-called public opinion and Vedic or philosophical literatures. Prahlad Maharaj, who is such a devotee, always defied the false instructions of his father and the so-called teachers who were appointed to teach them. Instead, he simply followed the instructions of Narad Muni, his guru, and thus he always remained a stalwart devotee. This is the nature of an intelligent devotee. The Srimad Bhagavatam instructs, Yagnai Sankirtana Praya Yajanti Hi Suvedasaha. One who is actually very intelligent must join the Krishna consciousness movement, realizing his own self as an eternal servant of Krishna, and thus practice constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And text 46.
As quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said,
Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Sudra Ke He Krishna
Vaveta Se Guru Aya.
A guru or spiritual master can be anyone who is well conversant with the science of Krishna. Therefore, although Prahlad Maharaj was a Grahastha ruling over the demons, he was a Paramhamsa, the best of human beings, and thus he is our guru. In the list of gurus or authorities, Prahlad Maharaj's name is therefore mentioned. The conclusion is that a Paramhamsa is an exalted devotee, Bhagavad Priya. Such a Paramhamsa may be in any stage of life, Brahmachari, Grahas, Vanaprastha or Sannyas, and be equally liberated and exalted. Thus,
And the Bhakti
Yeah. 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled A Behavior of a Perfect Person.
Is it this conversation between Yudhishthira Maharaj and Narad Muni, and he's
Yes.
talking about occupational duty of a brahmachari or grasta and vanaprastha and sannyasis, and you're sharing these aspects.
Yes.
Then you can share your realizations from the chapter.
Yes. Now that we're done, everyone share what they've learned from this chapter. Yes.
you talking about B. So, I think Prabhupada quote of the day, like previously, was also like devotees are like bee, and material people are like bees.
Flies. Yeah. Because a bee will, even if it's in a field of stool, if there's one flower, the bee will go to the flower. But a fly, it can be in a field of flowers, but if there's a piece of stool, the fly will go to the stool. So it's like we should always try and look for the positive. We should try and look for Krishna or just focus on Krishna. Even if we're like suffering, like how Prahlad Maharaj, he was being tortured and being fed poison and everything, but he'd always focus on Krishna, on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And yeah, whereas like people outside, they just want to glorify their senses and they want to forget about Krishna, even though, you know, it's quite accessible today, like Krishna consciousness. Like you can go to a temple, you can listen to kirtan, but they just choose to be in the mode of ignorance or passion. Yeah.
In our acharyas also were very fond of like bees. In many of the in many of the bhajans, they also like, for example, in one bhajan, I think Rupa Goswami, he writes, Mana manasa madhukaram arpaya nija pada pankajam Krishna seva pavan. He writes, may my mind be like a bee. It revolves around your lotus feet. So they're also comparing the rituals with these.
Anybody has any questions?
Realizations?
Somebody want to share? Please go ahead.
I like how he said there's no need to distinguish between good and bad because like good and bad it either elevates you or degrades you, but that's not the point of human life. So I thought that was like a clear understanding, yeah, because the goal of life is different. It's a different conception of good and bad.
Somebody gave me an example that when we see through a window, we see things as they are, and when we see through a mirror, we see our own reflection first. So when we see through a window means we will see everyone as a living entity or part and parcel of Krishna. But when we judge others, it means there is something wrong in us, and based on that, we kind of perceive others.
Another thing I wanted to say, it's like that should also be like our goal of life is to give Krishna to others as well. Like, once we see that everyone is equal, we want to give Krishna to others. And yes, but like we also need to like serve other devotees, because we need like the blessings of sadhus and of saints in order to approach Krishna. So our mood should always be to serve. And yeah. Anyone else want to share?
I also like the way that he phrased it. He said, it's not my business to be praising or blaspheming.
Yeah.
You're not getting paid to do it.
There's so much of joy in this. Wow. Just how easy would have been, like the way we get attracted towards all these things quickly without making any effort, like easily blaspheming or kind of fighting about others. The same way we could just kind of do bhakti as well. Great.
Anyone else?
I have a story to share.
Sure.
Basically, on the window thing you said. There was this one lady, she used to wash her clothes and dry it up in the terrace of her house. So she used to do that every day, and she used to look at the clothes of her neighbor, which were very dirty. So she used to get happy every single day. Like, look how their clothes are dirty. She used to tell her husband, see how nicely I wash my clothes and everything. And the very next day, after he told her husband, the very next day, the neighbor's clothes somehow got cleaned. They were super nice, everything. So she felt unhappy and jealous about that. And she told that to her husband. So her husband replied that it was not their clothes that were dirty, it was our window that was actually dirty, and we were seeing the dirt from our window. So the lesson is that even sometimes that happens with us. It's not the other person who is doing something wrong. It's our vision, or sometimes we might see something because of some dirt, it just gets into our eyes. So we should clean ourselves first before judging others.
That's why they said Chetu Dharmayanam, our heart should be cleansed first.
Yeah. True.
I like the fact from this purport is as Prabhupada mentioned in few verses too, basically it's a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Zade Dekho Tare Kaho Krishna Upadesh. That means whoever you see, you share Krishna to some amount. Probably a person might not be able to understand Krishna to that much, so you have to be kind of careful how much Krishna one can accept and give them accordingly. And I was just looking at here, Prabhupada also mentions if you are trying to do good to others, actual non-violence means to preach to others about Krishna consciousness. Maharaj was also stating this thing in yesterday's class, that ultimately we all have to ride the waves of bhakti. We have to be careful, but we cannot mix all the things together. That's what Maharaj was saying, and I felt like it was pretty useful. We can share 4 or 5 words, whatever. What is your take from the class, everyone? Is that okay? What are your takeaways?
No.
Be samdarshini, do not judge anyone, do not criticize them, when we judge, we criticize, then we reject them, and that's how we just we upset Krishna in our heart, and this is not the right approach. I mean, being a human being, we must be able to paying attention towards our spiritual growth, at the same time helping others to uplift.
So in this chapter, we learn about the four ashrams. The first was the brahmachari, and then the vanaprastha and the sannyasi. The grahast ashram is mentioned in the 14th chapter. Yeah. So I was a bit confused that why is it not in the first verse? So they kept separately the grahast ashram in the next chapter. And after that, Narad Muni is discussing with Yudhishthir Maharaj about incident of Prahlad Maharaj meeting one Brahman who is in the mode of Python. So he was instructing them like how he can be one with the Supreme Personality of God, and by taking his shelter he can do devotional service and become happy. And about the real happiness lies in the spiritual happiness. So it was one of the words mentioned from the Vanaprastha also, like how the philosophies of the happiness is lies in the doing bhakti of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So I liked how we say that even Vaishnavas feel pleasure when they see that snakes are killed, but still, like it is mentioned that we should learn from bee and snakes, like bee and python. So how amazing it is that even we are like not very like we feel pleased when they're killed, but still we learn from them. Even they are envious, they are everything, but still we try to learn from them. And I think that's the quality of Vaishnavas, learning from everybody, even how much envious they are. And I was also there was also a short example of how Vaishnavas are, how humble they are, and how tolerant they are. That Vaishnavas are like tree, right? We should be like tree, very very tolerant. And I remember hearing one thing, that if we cut a tree, then before falling, it does some sound that get aside. Even though you are cutting him, but he's making some sound that get aside. If I will fall, it will hurt you. So that's the Vaishnava. Like,
I liked how Prabhupada, he mentioned that our goal of life isn't elevation or degradation, but rather to go back to Krishna. And with the blaspheming and or praising, like just focusing on Krishna, because that's the best form of welfare, human welfare.
I like what you said, that we should be like bees, looking for Krishna and looking for something positive in every situation in life, because situations and what comes to us is barely in our control, right? But how we perceive it and what's our perspective on it, it really changes everything. So that.
Hare Krishna. So I kind of agree with what Siama Mataji said, as well as Antriksh Prabhu said about being Samadarshini. So even in my Krishna conscious journey, I was more fanatical when I started, where I was strict with my parents, saying Krishna's the only one you should worship, and if they worship demigods together. I used to be very fanatical. And over the years, I learned to treat them like how they are, because if you're so fanatical, no one's going to be accepting. So allow them to slowly accept Krishna for who it is, for how they understand him to be. So that was my little learning that I have, like within this 1 year progress. So it's like treating them equally too. I probably thought I was better than them because I was worshiping Krishna and they're worshiping demigods, but learning to treat them equally.
Mm-hmm. I don't really have much to say. It's okay. Give it nothing. Like bind.
Probably we can read whatever is written over there, related to some there's something written, but that is of course not.
Yeah, I can read, yeah. Which one you want to read?
Some section.
Equal vision.
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The Gita advocates for equality of all living beings. Life is always respected regardless of race, gender, caste, creed, and species. While still appreciating our differences, equal vision allows us to acknowledge the eternal presence of the spiritual energy that connects us to Krishna and thus each other. at Krishna house everyone is welcome and accepted and given an equal opportunity to develop bhakti.
Yeah.
Giant. Yeah, done. Okay.